This is the Watergate complex today. Built in 1967 in northwest Washington, D.C., the superblock of hotel, offices and apartments became notorious around the globe in 1972, when it gave its name to one of America's most significant political scandals. On the 17th of June, 5 men were arrested for breaking into the complex's headquarters of the Democratic National Committee. A few months later, along with the masterminds of the break-in, E. Howard Hunt, Jr. and G. Gordon Liddy, the 5 were indicted for conspiracy, burglary and violation of federal wiretapping laws. But when one of the men, James W. McCord, wrote to the judge claiming a cover-up of the robbery, the floodgates were opened and the affair snowballed into a massive political scandal that reached all the way to the White House. It was eventually revealed that President Nixon and his government had been involved in an astonishing array of criminal activities, including campaign fraud, political espionage, and wiretapping of not only their political opponents, but also the press and ordinary citizens. A hidden Mexican slush fund was also discovered, used to pay for these activities, provide money for cover-ups, and buy the silence of anyone arrested. But at Watergate, it all began to unravel. In a Senate investigation, former staff members testified against President Nixon and his team. Over 2 years, the evidence mounted up, helped by the revelations of Washington Post reporters Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, and their infamous anonymous source, W. Mark Felt, codenamed Deep Throat. During this period, it became clear that Nixon's own office was wired, with him recording many conversations, including one that became known as the smoking gun, in which he detailed the cover-up at Watergate. The fallout led to threats of impeachment, but on the 8th of August 1974, Nixon announced his resignation, the only American president in history to do so. For such a relatively small country, the UK has certainly seen its fair share of railway tragedies, particularly around the Greater London area. Unsurprisingly, one of them was at Clapham Junction, one of the largest and busiest railway junctions in the UK, if not Europe. At 8:10 on the morning of Monday the 12th of December 1988, a packed commuter train, travelling at around 65 kilometres per hour, ran into the back of another one, sitting in a cutting about 800 metres south of Clapham Junction. The impact caused the first train to veer to its right and collide with another oncoming empty train. 35 people died in the accident, all of them in the first 2 carriages of the first train. The number of injured is unclear, but there were at least 100, though some reports put the number as high as 400, 69 of them seriously. First on the scene were pupils from the nearby Emmanuel School, who helped save many lives and received commendations for their actions from the government. Investigations found that the cause of the accident was faulty wiring. The driver of the 718 from Basingstoke to Waterloo saw a signal change from red to green without turning yellow. Following procedure, he stopped at the next signal telephone to report the anomaly, but was advised that there was no fault and he should continue. Before he could do so, the late-running 614 from Poole, obeying false proceed signals, hit his train from behind. A 4th train, also obeying the faulty signals, managed to stop just 60 metres short of the back of the Poole train. It was discovered that sloppy work practices had left an old wire half-connected, causing the signal to show green when it should have been red. And a supervisor who had noticed the loose wiring didn't mention it, so as not to rock the boat. Recommendations were made for the introduction of the automatic train protection system, but despite subsequent crashes at Southall and Ladbroke Grove, to date these recommendations have still not been acted upon. The inquiry also recommended the phasing out of the vulnerable 1950s rolling stock, but again, as of 2005, similar trains were still running on South London commuter lines.
Three, two, one.